Chapter 9. The Law of Attraction Refined. The popular phrase law of attraction, or LOA, refers to the idea that like attracts like. It could also be called the law of accumulative effect, by which the accumulation of something attracts more of it. Social groups tend to attract people like them. A certain type of advertising attracts specific people. A certain neighborhood attracts a certain crowd and events. Certain shops attract similar shops like it until you have a whole district of one type of shop. A certain inner attitude or energy vibration attracts a certain reality. What you radiate, you ultimately get back. Reality creation, then, means to change the energy you radiate instead of trying to change the circumstances, or trying to change others, or trying to change your surroundings. Of course, changing external reality can help in changing your inner vibration, but if that inner change is not undertaken, you'll find yourself in the old surroundings and circumstances again sooner or later. It's much easier to first change within because all else falls in place automatically. Changing your energy field or attractor field may require some persistence and focus, some willed discipline to look, hear, be, and act differently than before, but maintain the new you, and outer reality eventually must bend to that. It has no choice. It is mind over matter, not the other way around. Life is whether you give in to and become a slave of circumstance, or whether you remain poised, and become a master of circumstance, a reality creator. I would guess that 90% of the population still easily gives in to the pressure of the world, and their lives are created for them. That's why it's wonderful to make something come true from your own will. The self-confidence gained by creating a reality from your own power is priceless. Everything is energy, but politics, economy, and education pretend not to know. It's silly how everyone knows that like energy attracts like energy, but nobody dares say it. The police officer says someone is victim-prone to avoid the term energy attraction. The sociologist uses the term broken window principle to avoid the term energy attraction. The pharmacologist says it's the placebo effect to avoid the term energy attraction. The sports commentator says they have a winning streak to avoid the term energy attraction. Everything is energy. You can feel the vibe of people and places, can't you? Don't you sense when someone is staring at you from behind? Don't you sense when someone is thinking about you? Can you see how certain groups and places attract like-minded people and events? How the likelihood of one event is higher in Group A than Group B? If you enter a room where two people just had a fight, you can feel it. You say to yourself, that room has a bad vibe. When you meditate, you can feel that you have entered a different energy frequency. When you go to a ball game, you can feel how the audience is giving their team energy. And yet, public society pretends it's not so. The idea of everything being energy, invisible energy flowing between us, like energy, attracting like energy, is not accepted as reality in politics, education, the economy, or any other area claiming to teach about or represent reality. It's slightly hinted at in religion, but only ever so slightly. It's slightly hinted at in physics, but only ever so slightly. This is really strange because it is the basis of everything. Knowing how energy flows is the basis of a good life. All suffering comes from ignorance of and about energy. That's why I don't like going to school. The most basic and essential things were not taught there. Dear teacher, how do I deal with the energy of love, the energy of money, the energy of spirit, the energy of life? They didn't teach any of that in school. It's also why most politicians aren't aware that continually digging up negativity on one's opponent is 70% of the time more damaging to themselves than to the opponent. Why? Because it's more telling of the type of energy the politician puts out than the opponent, and also because the publicity feeds the opponent with attention. Were they aware of how energy works, they'd greatly reduce their mudslinging. If sports teams knew that the energy coming from their fans does strongly factor into their own energy, they would build a better relationship with their fans, and the fans would win them their game. An interesting exercise in this regard is to view newspaper headlines not as a statement of fact, but as attempts at creating reality. If you read the headline, "Microsoft no longer fashionable," or "There is a crisis in the car industry," these may or may not be current facts. But in any case, they help to create the reality they're talking about. Every statement is also an affirmation. The power of the word is such that especially mass media broadcasts play an important part in shaping mass consciousness reality. Because people love action and drama and will pay for it in movie theaters, the news media rarely seeks out positive events, much less a positive spin on them. They like to zoom in on the worst of the worst, especially tabloid journalism that caters to the gullible, pretending that raging lunatics are representative of the majority. In this manner, the news media contributes to the negativity in the world. I've actually met a number of people who are afraid to travel to Russia, afraid to travel to the United States, afraid to travel to the Middle East, because of their distorted view of those places. They could only get such a distorted view of these wonderful travel locations by relying on news media only for their information, and actually believing that whatever disaster the camera zooms in on is representative of the whole. This would be like me filming the public toilets at Disney World and then publishing an article that says, "This is what Disney World looks like." In order to help the world, the mass media would have to balance out to at least 50-50, rather than having 90% of the reporting be about the negative. Yes, tragic events do happen, but they're not the only thing happening. There's a lot of beauty in the world. 7 misunderstandings about the law of attraction. A literary agent once rejected a book of mine saying, "We don't do law of attraction anymore. That was trendy 10 years ago when The Secret came out, but most people have already moved beyond that." The statement struck me as funny, considering that the law of attraction is a universal principle that has been in effect since trillions of eons, and that these most people have not actually moved beyond it, but have given up on it. The law of attraction is reflected in popular sayings such as "birds of a feather flock together," and "what goes around comes around." It's described in all ancient religious traditions, especially Buddhism and Hinduism. Even the Bible and the Quran contain thousands of references to it. This one popped into my quote inbox today. It's from Proverbs chapter 11, verse 27. It says, "He that diligently seeketh good procureth favor, but he that seeketh mischief, it shall come to him." The law of attraction is nothing new. The idea that what you put out is what you'll get back, it's called karma in Hinduism, is actually nursery school level spirituality. To most of us, it couldn't be more obvious why certain people tend to attract certain things. In the last few decades, a lot of half-truth and hype have been published about the law of attraction. This is because mostly American marketers have discovered its appeal and watered it down in order to sell mediocre products. I encounter them all the time as a life coach. These are the top 7. Number 1, thoughts become things. The statement is a gross oversimplification. The only place thoughts manifest immediately are on higher planes of disembodied consciousness. On Earth, by the time you have thought one thought, you've already thought 100 others. Since the average human can't even hold one thought for 10 seconds, I doubt this is something constructive to teach people, much less to beginners. Here's how it actually works. If your mind is fairly silent through equanimity or meditation, and you're able to hold a thought for longer than 60 seconds, it begins to solidify. It also solidifies if you keep coming back to it. If a subject interests you, this happens naturally. As it solidifies, It attracts other similar thoughts and emotions and over time turns into a belief or a thinking habit. Once that happens, it starts filtering your perception of reality. Then it starts directing your words and actions. If you can align your thoughts, words, and actions to a reality you prefer, then you have a good chance of experiencing it. The only way a single thought manifests immediately is either if you're on a higher plane yourself or solicit the help of those who are on higher planes. That's called prayer. Number 2, the law of attraction is the most fundamental law of the universe. This is an error in emphasis. The principle that like attracts like is one law of the universe, one of more than a dozen. There are plenty of universal principles that supersede the law of attraction, such as the law of polarity, duality, the law of karmic merit, the law of unconditional love, the law of the absolute, etc. Yes, it's true that like attracts like, but teachers and books that place emphasis on it as if it were the only important thing to know are wrong. The purpose of life on Earth is to slow down the like attracts like factors so that many different vibratory frequencies can coexist at the same locations. Champions of the law of attraction, such as Jerry Hicks, who died of cancer, Oprah Winfrey, still struggles with overweight after hundreds of pronouncements of having cured it, James Earl Ray, now a convicted felon, and countless others have probably already realized this. The law of attraction is nothing special, nothing new, and it's not the only thing there is. If you've built up negative karma lifetime over lifetime, you'll either have to work it off and make amends or ascend to such a high place that you are beyond karma. If you think you can overcome physical laws, such as aging, I don't mind if you give it a try, but don't be shocked if you age after all. Here's how it actually works. The principle of attraction is an overall tendency to gravitate toward what is similar to you. That is, your desires and resistances tend to stick around your life, whereas that which you are neutral toward tends to not happen to you. You gradually become what you admire. You experience by who you are. You get back what you put out. What you fear the most also tends to happen to you. The law of attraction is not a magic wand you can weave to create any random notion at a whim. What you can create, what you can reality create, are dreams you are really committed to, beyond wavering and indecisiveness. Number 3, you can get anything you want. As I've stated in many books, audiobooks, and articles, want creates lack. Life is not about getting and accumulating stuff. It's about what you give. If the quote-unquote experts understood anything about their law of attraction, they'd know that what you first put out, or give, is what you get back. True experts of this stuff are not preoccupied with getting. They are into giving. Giving to get something back? No, giving for the joy of it. Hardly any ego involved. Ego is always drowning in lack and fear, always getting into something. Soul is into giving. Instead of saying you can get anything you want, a law of attraction teacher worth his salt would teach you you can get anything you give. Or even more precisely, you attract things not according to what you want, but according to who you are. Number 4, feeling good is the most important thing. Your overall state is important. First, fix your state before you try to fix the external world. That's a good and workable principle to live by. But the misunderstanding comes with people who think they have to get a fix of excitement all the time in order to manifest. Life comes in waves, and it's not advisable to try to stay high all the time. More often, it's the way you handle lows that reveals your true overall state. It's not at all about the temporary states you have. You attract into your life what you radiate most often. Feeling good is important, but it's not the most important thing. I've seen a lot of people accomplishing fantastic achievements because they didn't feel good. They were hungry and seeking a higher feeling. They used their dissatisfaction to manifest something. So there is merit to feeling good, and not feeling good. Another limiting belief I often read and hear is if it's not easy to achieve, it's not the right path for me. On one level, that is true because what comes natural to you is who you really are. But on a higher level of understanding, the statement reveals resistance toward effort. From this stronger plane, effort and difficulty are not seen as such because no judgment or resistance was built up toward various realities of life. So yes, improve your state, but don't become someone who avoids challenge at all cost. The joy of life is to use your focus to overcome and transcend challenge. And number 5, I'm looking for the right method. The law of attraction is not a method. It's a principle that occurs all the time. You can't escape it because it's happening 24 hours a day, nonstop. By the law of attraction, the attitude you radiate comes back to you. If you do not address your overall attitude and inner beliefs, it doesn't really matter what method you use. None of them will work. If, on the other hand, you are aligned, you are your true self, almost any method will work. I recently met a guy who received a massage therapy from a known scam artist, but I knew he would be healed of his problems because the guy's overall jovial and trusting attitude, and he was healed. Number 6, everything is only a belief. No, it's not. Reality is a mixture of the objective, which is universal and absolute, and the subjective, which is relative and matter of belief. How to discern the two is an art one can learn and utilize. Thus, certain medicine or drugs work whether you believe in them or not. You have a third eye behind your forehead whether you believe you do or not. There is an infinite field of energy whether you believe it or not. Your disbelief might cause you to not see those things, but that does not mean they don't exist if you quit believing them. Belief goes a long way. You can create a fantastic life with belief work, but that does not mean that no other factors influence your experience. And number 7, I've read dozens of books on the subject. It should work better. As a coach, I've visited thousands of people in their private homes and have admired their extensive law of attraction book collections. My impression from 15 years of visiting people is that the more books they had on the subject, the less apt they were at it. One could argue that that's why they sought to read about it, but my impression is that they preferred reading about it to actually doing it. Applying the law of attraction requires a radical shift in your energy field, and this shift does not come about through words. Books, for some, then become a substitute for actually learning this wizardly art. It's like reading about architecture without designing buildings, reading about music without making any music. It's much easier to just read about it and either agree or disagree, but nothing will come from that. Application, practice, repetition, courage, and experience are the keys. What use are all these books if the courage to apply them is lacking? Where does that courage come from? From the books? Nope, it comes from the mysterious within. This is why I offer practical tools and live workshops. The law of attraction and action. People often ask, should I take action for my goals? And should I do something? Unfortunately, many law of attraction teachings propose that you do not have to take action, that all of your dreams will come true by merely thinking about them or imagining them. While it is true that intensified imagination or belief alone can magnetically attract reality, and that you could manifest anything you like through intention only, I'd like to give you a more refined and precise answer to the question here. Reality creation coaching teaches that to create or attract a new reality, you have to focus energy in the direction of that new reality. Focusing energy is either with thought, word, or deed. To make your focus strong and laser-like, you focus all three. You imagine it, you speak of it, and you do it. The higher your own level of energy, the less effort is required to get results. So you see that taking action is not a contradiction to thought, but only another way of focusing energy. The reason law of attraction teachings emphasize thought so much is because we're all very familiar with action, work, and labor as a path to achievement, but we're not that acquainted with the role of mental visualization. If you look at how you achieved anything in life, you'll see that it started with a consideration, an idea, a thought. Then you either started talking about it verbally with others, or talking to yourself about it in your mind, perhaps weighing its pros and cons. And because of all this self-talk, you started noticing things in your environment that had something to do with the idea. Then, if you didn't discard it, eventually came the natural urge to act, and you acted upon it. Finally, there was a reality, and you experienced it. What reality creation coaching does is to make this process that occurs subconsciously in most people conscious, to do it deliberately and topically focused. Hinduism discerns three main gradients or levels of consciousness: tamas, rajas, and sattva. These are the levels of consciousness that my book Levels of Energy is based upon. Tamas is the place of lethargy, apathy, misemotion, and failure. Rajas is a place of positive attitude, action, and work. Sattva is a spiritual place of love and effortlessness. The reason I point these levels out is because when people ask me, do I have to act to reach my goals? They're often coming from tamas rather than sattva. A dattva has transcended the need to act and work. Everything that needs to be created is created almost effortlessly. A tamas has not. He's trying to avoid work and resisting it. I recommend tamas consciousness to first ascend to rajas before trying to be sattva. In other words, if you have no problem with working, you don't have to work anymore. You will have gone beyond it. So how can I tell most people are asking me the action question from tamas? I can tell from their wording. Do I have to act? Can't I just manifest money without having to go through the pain of a job? I'm sick of investing effort. I just want to manifest my dreams. Must I really work? The question is asked with the implication that action, work, and deeds are somehow not okay, or not fun, stressful, difficult, etc. However, stress is only a mental illusion of tamas, only inner resistance. Give up the resistance toward life, and you have no problem working. In fact, you'll enjoy it. You'll also enjoy being lazy. One secret is that people who don't enjoy action or work also have a bad conscience when they are lazy or non-doing. Once you've cleaned up on both sides and can fully work and concentrate and also fully relax and be lazy, then you have transcended remaining pockets of tamas and are also transcending rajas. In terms of creating a reality, such as a new job, or accomplishing a project, or creating a relationship, or maintaining a loving relationship, or creating vibrant health, or a nice physical appearance, or means to travel, or anything else, it shouldn't really matter how it is created as long as it does not infringe on other people's rights and realities. Who cares whether it manifests through thought, through word, through deed, through work, through gifts, from others, through miracles, through logic, or through illogic? It doesn't matter. You can be happy or unhappy on any path. It's your decision. What matters is that a new reality is created and that it can be enjoyed by you and others.